Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Today I want to go through a presentation Noah and I we put together for a professional organization that works with structural engineers to cover the basics of structural engineering. They found it very useful and I wanted to share it with you today. So the title is the basics of structural engineering. So I will try to go through the basics, what most structural engineers work with, and then we'll take it from there. These are some of the things I want to talk about today. Construction materials, what are the different materials buildings are made out of, building codes, loads, structural design, a little bit about the structural design, and also structured drawings and touch on the BIM modeling. Towards the end, I will have some tips for professionals that work with structural engineers, and I will include the links for all these videos if it doesn't fit in just one video. All right, so this is a little bit about myself and Noah. We work together in the same consulting office. We did structural engineering for our clients, and during working with different projects, we would get a lot of questions from architects, from contractors about what is the structural purpose for this element. Is there something we can do about removing this wall? And over time we realized that compiling a comprehensive summary of the most important elements about structural engineering can be very helpful. These are some of the projects I worked on. This is one of the probably top 10 tallest buildings in the world. It's famous for like the big clock at the top. I was very fortunate to be part of the design team, understand the design and analysis of tall buildings. In Canada, I was also part of design of big span structures and tall buildings, and during this time it was possible for me to accumulate the knowledge and the most common questions that come up about structural engineering and practicing the profession, and I'm going to summarize it in this presentation. Why do we need structural engineers? What do structural engineers do? So think about it this way. On a daily basis, we use buildings, we use structures, we enter the building, we don't think twice about the integrity of the building. It's almost we take it for granted. However, someone needs to be responsible for, no matter how windy it is outside, if there is like a natural event like a seismic or an earthquake, someone needs to take responsibility for the safety of the public. This is the structural engineer. The structural engineer would work with the architect to build a vision how the building would look like, but they are responsible for the bone, the structure, the integrity of the structure. They communicate their work by crunching numbers, doing models, just like this one here before issuing drawings. They also provide structural drawings, reports. We can also do work with existing buildings for restoration, and obviously during construction. So during construction, someone needs to go and check that the building is being built according to plan. Structural engineers also will take into account the local guidelines and regulations and make sure the standards and codes of the local standards are applied. This is very important to make sure that the building is compliant with the standard of the profession. What types of projects would need a structural engineer? So pretty much everything in a city, from tall buildings a bridge. It needs to be safe to hold the loads on it. We will talk about loads. And it also needs to serve the function. Doesn't have too much deformation. The windows are not broken every time there is wind and the building starts moving. These are all aspects structural engineers need to take into account when designing different types of projects. I mentioned bridges, tall buildings, include wind loads, seismic loads, hurricanes. It needs to be taken into account when designing them. Water structures, maybe dams, water channels. Also, restoration and repair of existing structures. So existing structures during their life cycle, they could face lot of elements that could damage the integrity. So you would need a structural engineer to come assess the existing situation and can provide some recommendations for the repair or strengthening methods. So what could go wrong if we don't look at the structural integrity, if we don't take the structural engineering concepts into account? This is a very interesting video. I want to just give you a heads up. The whole building comes down collapsing. It is a catastrophic failure, which happens when people take into their own hands altering the load path of the structural elements. I want to talk about today about what are the structural elements, how you can tell this element is structural. It is important for the integrity of the whole overall structure. And I just want to share with you this video on what happens if the load path is discontinued because of intentional or non-intentional matter. So it appears to be like about here in this floor, a group of workers are demolishing a wall in what appears to be a load-bearing structure. So let's remove this out of the way. The workers are chipping away at the wall and they're disturbing the load path. Once it comes down, all the floors starts cascading down. Look at what's happening. Like you damage the unit above. The building is non-usable and it's unstable at this point. Like it's a matter of time before the whole thing comes down. That's the rest of the video. The whole thing comes down because look at the weight of the walls at the top. They have nothing. This is air. There is no walls here, no walls there to connect them to the foundations at the bottom. So simple laws of physics goes a long way. It might be difficult to see in the structure, but consequences are real.